So the year has just started, and unfortunately another creep has been exposed, a small indie game developer who developed the game Bad Parenting 1, Mr. Redface, also known as 2002VN. And the game was about, Mr. Redface, a fictional character created by adults to teach the children, suddenly becomes a reality. And as of right now, all of the reviews are very positive, but shortly before I started recording this video, it was at overwhelmingly positive, and I figure that will continue to go down as more people find out about the allegations that we are going to be talking about today. And this game, it's very creepy type vibes, and now whenever I played it, it was free, but now it is $1.99, and obviously I will not be buying this game to own for obvious reasons. But an anonymous person actually put together a 16-page document titled ANH is a P-word, or a PDF file, if you will. And they start this off by saying, as a reminder, ANH is the creator of Bad Parenting, a game that went viral on YouTube and TikTok, played by big YouTubers like Queso, iShowSpeed, XQC, Corey X Kenshin, more recently. And they go on to say his Discord ID. And for those of you that are curious, Discord IDs, those are the things that you cannot change. It is not your hashtag, it is not your username. It is a number that is allocated to you as soon as you start your Discord account. So we know the identity of this person for sure. And they go on to say, this document is being made because we cannot stand to see ANH getting so much fame after we know what he did. He's been minors and manipulating them, making them think that they're at fault. As a reminder, ANH is currently 22 years old. His victims are all under the age of 18, going down to 14 years old. Now, the age gap doesn't necessarily matter in my opinion. So for those of you that know me, a lot of you guys know that I'm going to be 22 very early in February. And thinking about someone my age, even below 18 period, but especially kids as young as 14, trying to pursue a relationship with them, first of all, disgusting. I can't even imagine that. They say if there's other people going through this and has proof, please contact, and they say their email. And every image will have context to it explaining how things got here. Our victim will explain how everything started with ANH. It started when she sent him a friend request. At the time, the victim had her age in her bio, so 14. After adding her back, they began to talk more frequently, becoming friends, doing voice chat, and playing together often. So at first, it was platonic. The victim was acting the same with ANH as it with her other friends. Then it became more private, when the victim was talking about her feelings and personal life problems to ANH since he's an adult or more mature, wishing that he can make her feel better. ANH shared his problems, and in return, he established a relationship of trust between him and his victim. The more they talked, the more they became closer. The victim's feelings were confused. They started dating. The victim thought it was okay because she'd never been in a relationship before this. They started talking about more intimate stuff like kissing, etc., saying how much they loved each other. ANH, knowing that his girlfriend was 14. And they go on to show screenshots showing ANH, wow, same name. Same name as your girlfriend? Yes. You have the same name as my boyfriend, too. That's crazy. I love my girlfriend so much, I just want to bite her cute cheeks right now. I love my boyfriend, I just want to hug him all day. I bet he wants the same thing. I hope so. You would be his sofa. First of all, that last sentence, so fucking gross. This whole thing is disgusting, but especially going back to this first part, as a child, whenever, despite of whether you have a bad home life or not, if you are having problems going on, let's say teachers, grandparents, whatever, some older person that you feel is your safe person that you can confide in, we find that in everyone. And sometimes, especially nowadays, that unfortunately happens to be on the internet. So someone, especially, it hits so close to home because this person is so close to my age, right? It would be bad no matter what age they were. However, I could never imagine taking someone's trust and turning it into something so fucking vile that you are preying on a child. You are preying on a child. And I'm going to get very angry as this video goes on because things like this obviously touch a fucking nerve, as they should. But especially considering, it's a game developer. A lot of people love this game. So the fact that you can use that just to inch your way further just doesn't sit right with me. And in this image, we can see how he referred to the victim as his girlfriend, knowing how old she is. Everything was normal for her here, explaining that she felt safe. And you know, of course she would, because like we mentioned before, especially a lot of us as kids had this older person, this older role model that we could talk to, look up to, whatever. And knowing that we have that person, that safe person, she's going to feel safe. And especially considering the context that she had never been in a relationship before, you wouldn't necessarily know what's right and what's wrong. And even as a kid, if you are talking to an older person, and maybe you do think, something isn't right about this, you don't have the cognitive skills necessary, one, to necessarily terminate the relationship or even know how to move forward. And no one can blame any child in this situation. All we can do is blame the adult. A&H goes on to say, "You're so cute, I'm gonna eat you, swallow me, ew. Little cat picture, I want to live inside your belly, what? Shocked emoji, smile emoji." Gross. I don't even know if we need an explanation for that, so we're just moving on. "I'll lay ears on your belly and try to hear them. I want to live inside your belly, especially my arms and belly. Mwah on that belly, mwah on your big belly." And so there's some weird, obviously this whole situation is weird things going on, but I'm not gonna say, this is necessarily in territory, but for those of you that have watched my Amberlynn Reid video, you know where I want to go with that. But then they go on to say, "It wasn't the problem. You have to tell me if you can't join back next time, so I don't have to wait like a stupid. Sorry. And if you can't join at the first time, just say it. I didn't mean to make you angry. You kept saying you would join, but then you left me there. Please, I'm sorry. In Roblox, I thought it was just your connection. But now Sky, too." And the victim goes on to say, "In this image, we can see that A&H is getting mad over something really dumb, showing us the psychological hold he had on her at the time, making her feel bad about literally not joining Roblox. Psychological hold is often used in cases of grooming, making it harder for the victim to understand that they didn't do anything bad. The groomer is just emotionally childish, putting pressure on the victim for them to stay." And a lot of you seeing this probably on the surface wouldn't think, it's just Roblox, or it's just a game, or whatever the hell it was. It's not that serious. As a matter of fact, it is that serious. Like, if we're putting all of the romantic things aside, let's say we take a parent, right? We take a parent and they want their child to do something. And I don't mean like, oh, go clean your room, go do this, go do that, whatever. They want their child to do something that a child shouldn't have to do. And then they get mad over and over and they're like, "Hey, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this." Making the child feel bad and feel like they did something wrong when it wasn't their obligation to do whatever they had to do anyway. That's the best adjacent way that I could probably explain this situation. Even if there was not romantic stuff involved, this is still fucked up. Like, it's still not okay for that dynamic, especially between an adult and a child online that do not know each other, are not related, etc. And they go on to say, "I fucking love you. I love you more. I love my girlfriend. I love spending time with my girlfriend. You love what? I love blank. I love you, baby. I don't know. I just love when you're being silly and cute. I love when you're being shy." And this honestly none of this sits right with me. Do not get me wrong. But this in particular, because the whole being silly and cute and being shy thing, of course, this is a little girl you're talking about, right? So of course they're gonna be shy, and especially whenever they're talking to someone of the opposite sex that's older, and again, someone like a game developer or a content creator or whoever that has this little bit of like overreach over this person. They have some sort of authority, and this child could be putting them on a pedestal, so of course they would be acting this way, because why wouldn't they? And he goes on to say, "I loved it when you were shy in the call. You were so cute." Keyboard mashing. "I feel so cringe when I'm like that. OMG. No, don't feel like that when you're with me. I want you to be comfortable." So this is obviously proof that they were doing calls, talking outside of the public Discord server, etc. Because I understand, especially, you know, as someone who creates games or as a content creator like me, sometimes we have online communities like Discord where we can talk to one another, share hobbies, and even in my Discord server, we have event section. So for anybody that has anything going on, they can post their own little private thread and they can be like, hey, blah, 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 talk about their problem. And then other people can reply, whatever. And that's okay. But it's to the point when you take this situation and you go privately with it and you start, you know, it's not PG-13 anymore, you know, and whenever you start being intimate and talk about, you know, like, I fucking love you and doing calls privately with this person. And there is a difference between, you know, being a mentor to someone and being this. And even if you are being a mentor to someone, I'm almost 22, okay? I'm not gonna have someone as young as that, or young period, in my DMs, you know, just doing shit with that person. It's just the whole situation and the whole way they went about it was gross. The girl says it's 14 where I am, and he says 18 would be better. So obviously, we know this by now, but A&H knows how old this person is. And she says, LMAO, cry emoji, I'm joking, I don't want to rush you. No, you're cute, you're not rushing me, heart. You don't feel like that? No, of course not, you listen to me. I mean, kids and adults have different ways to love, and I might make you do the adult way sometimes, and I forget that you're still 14 and made mistakes. Oh, don't worry, babe. So, he knows how old she is, and the whole, I don't want to rush you. This is something that I want to talk about because some people, unfortunately, would take this screenshot, you know, of her talking about her age and him being like, oh, I don't want to rush you. They would take that as, oh, he doesn't want anything to do with it. No, that's not how this works, because even if, look, if there was someone who's young and, you know, you talk to them, you like their personality, what they do, how they are, whatever, and you are older, the rational adult way of thinking is not, oh, I'm just going to wait for them to turn 18 so then we can be together. That's not what rational, functioning, normal adults think. That's not how it is. You should think, oh, this individual likes some things that I do. That's really cool. That's the normal fucking response. And if you like things, you know, let's say you really like Call of Duty, right? And there's a younger person in a Discord server that you're in that really likes Call of Duty, right? That's pretty cool. And you want to be in a relationship with someone that likes Call of Duty. That does not mean you see this younger person and you're like, oh, we like the same things, so we got to be together. No, you find someone who is your age, or at least not a fucking minor, and then you go about it that way. And whenever he says kids and adults have different way to love, and I might make you do the adult way sometimes, and I forget that you're still 14 and made mistakes. So he's obviously acknowledging that there is, number one, a barrier between, you know, kids and adults and how they pursue relationships and how they love each other, because that is true. But in this sentence, A&H is acknowledging that he is in fact talking to a child. And this should be obvious because obviously he knows her age, but at least there is some sort of statement where he's like, you know, you are a child. And he says, the age wasn't the biggest problem when I told you I don't want the BFGF too soon. Sweet dreams, my future GF. Yeah, we called and oh, I need mention, I accidentally showed my legs for a frame and he told me to, ew, with my, okay, I'm not even gonna finish that. I think I gotta blur that out. But like, he said the age is not the issue. The label is the issue. Okay, first of all, classic man. I'm kidding. For those of you men watching this, I know that was just a funny, but that's crazy. So that just further shows that he was okay with this. And then they go on for some text that says, real, blank is beautiful and funny too. And these are from A&H. I'm assuming this girl says, I wish I could be like her. She sounds wonderful. Time will tell. Creepy as fuck. Moving on. I feel confused. What does this mean? It's okay. You will in 4 to 5 years. will get it. So again, acknowledging the age gap, but is still talking to her. I haven't met her before. You have. I have. Yes. Are you in love with her? I don't know. I don't get it. You don't have to. Trust. I hope you have fun with her. You deserve to have her. I want blank to be happy too. I care about her feelings. You must really like her. Because she's nice to me than most of anyone else. Nicer than me as well. I'm not sure about that because I don't express my feelings too much. There is also a barrier between me and her. A barrier? Yes, and I respect that. I won't invade till it opens by itself. What is the barrier? The age barrier. But I thought she was 19 in 4 to 5 years when she met me. So she's 14, like me? 15? Maybe. Around that. So they said those messages were sent before they started dating, and it's a conversation between, A and H and the previous girl. So obviously during these texts, he is in contact with someone else, which you would think, oh, thank God, right? Hopefully it's an adult, and then this whole situation, he can leave this poor girl alone. But no, it is another 14, 15-year-old, and he says maybe around that. So maybe not that exact age, but at least we know that she is in fact a minor. And one of my biggest issues, obviously, despite the obvious, talking to this girl that he had formed a relationship with, formed a bond with, had let her trust him, and all of a sudden it is like, oh, there's someone else. And, I'm not saying he shouldn't terminate the relationship. That's not what I'm saying. Because he should have, to begin with. He should have quit talking to her. You know what? He shouldn't have talked to her privately to begin with. But now, going back to the psychological effects and things like that he was using to manipulate her, starting with the trust and everything, talking about their personal experiences and hardships that they were having in life. But then, after forming that bond, suddenly taking that safe person and cutting her off. Which, granted, like I said, this whole relationship should be terminated. But the fact that it went about in this way with a person that was almost exactly like the girl that he was talking to is insane. Like, for that girl, that has to be a psychological mindfuck. And obviously, I'm saying that for the obvious reasons, but also, as a child, I was groomed myself. I've never talked about this on the internet because I don't like to share super personal things like this for obvious reasons. However, I do know what it's like to be in a situation like this. So seeing it happen to someone else is obviously infuriating, no matter who it is. And he decided to go and make a post on X, and I can't see it because I deleted X, but he pretty much said, people are saying I'm a PDF file, so here's my side of the story. First of all, I don't want to hear his side. I don't. The pictures prove enough, but for the sake of context and for the sake of you guys that don't know everything about this situation, we're gonna fucking go through it together. And he says, everything about this drama. Warning, there are sensitive photos without censored for evidence. Note, this is not an apology post because I have no responsibility to apologize to anyone other than the victim of this incident. This post will list out what happened between me and V, the victim, and also about the server admin and mod team because they are the ones who accused me. Keep in mind, he posted a response on his Discord server. I have not been able to find the screenshots, unfortunately, because everything has been wiped. If you guys know where these are, please feel free to comment, send them to me, whatever. And he pretty much said, I don't need to apologize. How is this grooming? I don't understand. Which, how, as a cognizant, or at least apparently quasi-cognizant adult, how do you not know what you're doing? There's no way. And the fact that you're like, what do I need to be sorry for? There's nothing that I need to be sorry for. What do you mean? What do you mean? And he goes on to say, a few months ago, V and I met through the 2002 server and became close friends after frequently playing games together in the server's voice chat, along with the entire team of admins and mods. After that, V invited me to download the game Sky to play together, and it was from this point that V and I became closer. Besides playing games, V and I often chatted on Discord, and I frequently talked to V about my personal and daily problems. I know it wasn't normal at all because V was only 14 years old at the time. Because of that, V didn't judge the things I told her, which made me closer to V and want to maintain this relationship. I'm not trying to justify this because it was completely wrong and could have negatively affected V's mental and emotion. First of all, I'm assuming that he is foreign just based on how he is typing, so I apologize if I slander anything. However, starting at, V invited me to download the game Sky to play together. Going back to that and going back to, I talked about earlier that a lot of us content creators, whatever, we have Discord servers. A lot of us do, where we can play games, chat with people that watch our content, etc. And I know a lot of people who do, like community game nights, etc. But whenever it comes, I've had some people, some of you guys message me, even adults, that have been like, hey, do you want to play a game with just me? Whatever. And I respectfully always say no. And do you want to know why I say no? First of all, obviously, if you're a child, that's fucking obvious why I say no. But there is a certain line that you need to keep between, especially on the internet, between you and the people that watch you, or in A&H's case, the people that enjoy what you create. There needs to be an obvious barrier there. And I understand that sometimes things, you're not always going to know how to handle everything, and that is okay. But when you are 22 years old and you have a little girl who looks up to you because, of this game, many people love this game, and they're like, hey, how about you do this thing with me? And you do, that not only is going to, make them feel like they have a special place in your heart, it already establishes a weird relationship whether you want it to or not. And that is just the fact of life. And the fact that he had said, like the admin and mod team are the ones that accused me to begin with, that shows more than you think it does. If you have several people looking at a situation, not even knowing everything on the inside, and being like, hey, this don't look right, you should probably take that as a sign that it isn't. And he says, after a while, V brought up the idea of dating while we were playing a game. Instead of blocking or completely ending the relationship like I should have, I kept things going and didn't outright reject V. I only said that we should wait until we're both of age. This was another mistake of mine, trying to maintain the relationship instead of cutting off contact with V entirely. And look, I can say that I understand not wanting confrontation and not knowing how to deal with things. I understand that. But whenever you have a child saying all these things to you and joking about shit that not only in the eyes of society is fucked up, but it's also illegal. And you had talked about, this could have negatively affected like her emotional or mental state. How do you think pursuing this, I don't understand how you could have thought pursuing this would be better for her mental state than just cutting it off and being done. Because in no situation would it be. And he said, due to many people currently making false accusations about me, I want to emphasize a few points. V and I have never dated or become boyfriend and girlfriend. The screenshots showing messages where I call V my girlfriend are real, but they lack proper context. If V and I were actually dating already, there wouldn't be any reason for me to tell V to wait. In reality, during the last few weeks when we were still texting, I allowed joking around by calling each other girlfriend and boyfriend, evidence that those instances were jokes. And he says, I won't mind if it's a joke, like I called you a girlfriend a few times. The fact that it was just a joke doesn't make it acceptable, as it was completely wrong and went against common moral standards. No shit. This was yet another mistake I made, and it's very bad. Again, no shit. I don't care. Look, I don't care if it's a joke. There is truth in some jokes, and regardless of whether there was a label or not, if we go back to the screenshot where he was talking about, the age wasn't the issue, the label was the issue. And you had already established this relationship with her through private gaming sessions, private calls, telling each other, the deepest and darkest secrets of your day. Like, regardless of whether the label was there, the relationship was still there. So, what's your point? What's your point? V and I have never chatted about or joked about anything obscene or sexual. This was one of the topics I strictly forbade when we were still friends. V has personally confirmed this. I randomly saw a video on YouTube. It was about predator YouTubers who hung out with minors. I feel like I'm one of those creeps too. No, you're not. Shut up. You're nowhere close to those nerds. Trust me, I'd know. But what's the difference if you're a minor too? Those guys have sexual intentions with minors and want to meet up with them at an earlier age. You don't make sexual advancements to me, and you only talk about meeting up in 4 years. A huge difference is that pedos often talk dirty to minors. You don't. You care for me and make me feel very special. If I felt uncomfortable, I'd tell you, dummy. Before I read the rest of these screenshots, this just shows the absolute chokehold that A&H had on her. Because obviously, when you're 14, a lot of us, including me, that thought that they knew everything when it came to relationships, how things worked, etc. But the truth of the matter is that you don't. You don't. And despite not talking about anything sexual necessarily, whatever, he mentioned earlier that kids and adults have different ways to love. And I might make you do the adult way. And was talking about meeting up in 4 years, right? Even if you're not talking about doing sexual things right now, talking about doing them in 4 years with someone who's currently a minor, okay, that still doesn't make it right. No, I'm sorry. I told you so many times, not those kinds of jokes. A&H, forgive me, please. I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. I promise that I will literally never make those kinds of jokes again. And I'm so sorry. I feel awful. I just wish I never said it. I miss us. It's okay. I don't mind it anymore. You really don't? So we can pretend it never happened and go back to how we were before? Just don't ask or talk about it. Can we be normal like before? Whenever you start a relationship with someone, and it doesn't matter, this applies to minors, this applies to consenting adults, and this even applies to, let's say, to like high school kids. Once you initiate a relationship with someone, and let's say things get weird, right? Most of the time, unfortunately, those relationships cannot go back to how they were, especially in situations like this, where it is an adult and a child. It goes from, in this case, being strictly platonic, public, as soon as you take it privately, there is no going back. There is no going back, especially in situations like this. And he goes on to say, this is when V accidentally joked about those things while playing Sky. If you still insist on labeling me as and a groomer, you should review the definition of the term. Pedo is a very serious accusation referring to individuals who are sexually attracted or engage in sexual acts with children. Grooming is the act of building trust and luring young victims for sexual purposes. And then he goes on to state, the definition of pedophilia, which I find is actually not in his favor, because including the definition of grooming and going back just for a review, grooming is the act of building trust, keyword, and luring young victims for sexual purposes. That, my friends, is a misconception, because grooming does not always have to end in anything sexual. It does not. While a lot of the times there are romantic implications. And even though he talks about, I didn't talk about anything sexual with her. They joked about being boyfriend, girlfriend. He talked about, the different ways to love and how, they had to wait for this type. So even if you weren't explicitly talking about the things that you wanted to do to her, it was a thought. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't think about waiting, and you wouldn't think about the implications that would have on you. And going back, he adds another definition of grooming that says to become friends with a child with the intention of trying to persuade the child to have a sexual relationship. Let's just take the word sexual out of this. Let's take this out of here. Tell me that that's not what's happening. Just try to tell me that's not what's happening, because all of the evidence suggests otherwise. And he says, going back to the story, while texting with V, I was aware that what I was doing wasn't right. I'm gonna let that one sit with you for a minute. Because of that, I tried a few times to create some distance between us and avoid being too close. V agreed, and for a while we toned things down. However, after a short time, everything went back to the way it was. As I mentioned earlier, I should have just chosen to cut off contact entirely to resolve this issue once and for all. But I hesitated because I still wanted to keep the relationship and still wanted to remain friends with V, to share daily stories, play games, and draw together. V didn't do anything wrong in this situation because I was the one who could have ended this relationship at any time. Taking accountability going on. In the end, I tried another approach to ensure that V and I could remain just normal friends without any romantic involvement. I started messaging V less and spent more time chatting with other girl members in the server so that V would think I liked someone else and give up the romantic thing. And we remember earlier her showing these texts of him saying that he liked another girl who was around the same age. And, even if he was lying to try to create some distance, that still doesn't make it right. That doesn't look better because that's still showing her, oh, this is okay. Like, he's doing it with someone else. It's all right when it's not. And he says, as a result, things seems to work, but this was still the wrong approach. No shit. Because at the time, I didn't realize how much V would be hurt and upset until V confided in me. Later, V said that they wanted to tell others about what happened. At first, I was confused and kept asking why, but eventually I accepted it because I knew that what I had done was wrong. I apologized to V right then and there, and after that, I have no responsibility to apologize to anyone outside of this situation. So, first of all, I don't agree. Second of all, this other girl, I don't know exactly if this other girl exists. I'm not gonna say she does. I'm not gonna say she doesn't, because I don't fucking know. I don't, and it's not my right to say what I do and don't know. However, him talking about, I just wanted us to stay friends, I should have chosen to cut off contact entirely to resolve this issue once and for all, but he wanted to keep her at grasp so things would seem normal. If you wanted to go back to your life before this situation happened, who gives a fuck about the confrontation? Cut it off. It is not only best for you, but it is best for everyone involved in this situation. And he shows his apology to her saying, and I want to apologize for all the things I did to you. It was my fault. Yeah, I apologize for that too. I just wanted to make you say it first, but I didn't know it would become this bad. So I don't know the context between I just wanted to make you say it first, because that sounds very, very not cool, very, very not cool. And saying how he didn't realize how much V would be hurt and upset until she confided in him about this other girl. Again, going back to where he said, they were around similar age and everything, going back and putting myself in the mindset that I was in whenever I was 14, it would make me think automatically oh, I'm not good enough because it's someone else that's so similar to me. So none of that is excusing any of this, and nothing would excuse any of this, but you guys get my point. And he says, regarding the joke about living in your belly, everyone had made it look like a sexual thing, but the context of the joke was this. V and I had created fictional characters for each other. My character was a tiny crocodile, and V's was a giant lynx-sheep hybrid. We often drew pictures and joked about it, which was these two that he attached here. First of all, that looks very suggestive. I'm not going to explain further than that. But then he says, I want to eat you, I am in your belly. As for the accusation that I was upset because V didn't play games with me, that's completely twisted and distorted. Of course, the messages were always cut to make me look bad. Specifically, I had invited V to play games multiple times. V agreed, but then changed their mind without letting me know, leaving me waiting in the game, which is what we see in the messages that she showed. The first few times this happened, I didn't say anything to V, but when it kept happening, I'm sure anyone in this situation would have been frustrated. Smiley face. So he said, as for the accusation that I was upset because V didn't play games with me, that's completely twisted and distorted, but then goes on to mention, I'm sure anyone who's been in this situation would have been frustrated. So you tried to say that you weren't mad, by explaining you were mad. Make it make sense. He includes the screenshot and says, now I will focus on the admin and mod team of my server. The reason is that they are the ones accusing me of being a PDF file. If they are truly innocent, I have no reason to target them. And don't say that I'm trying to shift the blame onto others, because I've already taken responsibility and there's nothing left to blame on anyone else. If the purpose of this drama is to protect children, I will further strengthen that point with more truths. So you say you're not trying to shift the blame, and you're saying, you apologized, when in reality, this whole document, including the Discord messages that have somehow been miraculously wiped from the face of the earth, was you saying, I didn't do this. This was distorted. It wasn't like this. You didn't really take accountability for anything other than knowing, 1, how old she was, 2, the fact that you guys did privately do things together, and 3, that there was some romantic involvement. You admitted all of these things, and you didn't really explain anything other than what she explained in her document. And he goes on to talk about his modmin and ad team, saying, the boss of this team is Eclipse, 16 years old. What? Okay, on my server, there have been some younger people who have wanted to mod for me, and I've explicitly been like, hey, no, because they're not 18, they're not an adult, and they're not in a place to do that. So the fact that you have all of these accusations against you with this minor, and you're like, hey, my admin team has some minors in it. The fuck do you think? What do you think that's gonna do? And he says, and the rest of Eclipse's friends are adults, all 18 and older, including Junie, Rolfcat, and Sim. All 3 are male. And granted, that's fucked up too. You say that they're friends. Is it public? Is it where everyone can see? Are they all doing private things together, having private calls, telling them like how much they love them? Riddle me that. Until you can tell me that, I'm not going to explain further on that. And he says, Eclipse and their friends could have been Chris Hansen's if they hadn't invited V into their private chat, where they made many sexual jokes directed at V. I used to be a member of this group because its original purpose was not to be sexting, but after seeing the grown man constantly saying dirty jokes like, I'm not going to say that because ew, I got annoyed and left the group. At the same time, some members also sent pictures of explicit things right in that private chat group, even though they knew that V was also reading those messages. Not stopping there, Eclipse had a full server open of explicit content that E was so proud and decided to invite V in. Regardless of age, distributing explicit content to children is considered illegal. Eclipse also confirmed herself by saying, I know me sending to minors was wrong now. I didn't know this was illegal before. I know now, and I admit that I'm doing something illegal by sending NSFW to other people my age. First of all, I'm not saying, this doesn't excuse anything. This does not excuse anything. However, this is a child that you're talking about, by the way. You are a grown man. You are a grown man, and you are talking about the actions of this child. And while I admit that what they did was wrong, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. However, the fact that they are a part of your mod and admin team, and you knew about this, and you didn't kick all of them out and cut contact with all of them, makes you complicit, in my opinion. Like, if you did nothing to stop it, and you knew about it, then there's some issues. He goes on to say, responding to her message, quote, people my age, not really. V was 14 and she was 16. Also, don't use the excuse, I don't know the law. Keep in mind, you are 22 years old saying how you love a minor and how you guys have to wait to love each other the adult way, and you're shitting on a child right now. Again, sending explicit material to anyone isn't great. If you are not two consenting adults, you're not supposed to be doing that. However, we have to consider that this is a child where their prefrontal cortex has not fully developed yet. And he goes on to say, of course, that's not all, because my server was almost entirely managed by Eclipse. E also created a private voice chat for her friends and set a lot of obscene, uncensored content there, even related to a child. There is a gif of a baby, K, doing some fucked up things. I'm gonna have to blur all of this, literally all of this, with explicit pictures of genitalia, etc. So again, going back to my point, if this was happening in your server, kick them out. They are children doing things that you are deeming, and the law deeming, illegal, and you are doing nothing to stop it. Silence is complicity, and that is just a fact of life. And he goes on to send some more screenshots, and he says, after each time E and her friends left voice chat, I deleted quite many of messages containing vulgar images from them. Above are the remaining ones. And I also regretted not reporting them right away, because there was a time when I and them were close friends. Showing again how maybe with these people, it was public. Maybe it was. But considering his relationship he had going on with V, I'm not going to say what he did or didn't do that we don't know, because that's not my right. However, it just seems really suspect to me. And he says, another sexual joke aimed directly at V to humiliate V in front of everyone. And there is some pictures of some voice chats here. And again, he could have stopped this and showing some other jokes involving assault and things of that nature. And he says, when I asked Eclipse to let me rejoin the private group chat to prove the staff's innocence, I was denied. After that, I asked Eclipse to record the chat messages from the time before I left the group. Eclipse agreed, but kept making excuses to delay, and eventually disappeared entirely without providing me any evidence. And he says, you said the same thing like half an hour ago, and she said, I'm still charging still, bro, what? Even though she said she was charging the battery, E was still chatting on another channel. And then she makes an announcement and says, hi everyone, Eclipse here. I will be ignoring the drama now. I apologize for anything I've done that is confirmed to be true. I am very sorry. This is my official apology, as I don't have much social media. I am sorry this has gone this far. I will be focusing on school and chatting normally in a different server, since I don't want to stress my school life with this drama. Goodbye for now. Let's just take the fact that A and H could have put a stop to all of this, all of the inappropriate jokes, the groups. This is his server. And even though V and Eclipse, they're 2 years age difference, okay? And I know in high school that could be, mentally, that could be a pretty vast difference, but for some people it's not. But at the end of the day, you are having a little girl, another one, mind you, apologize in your server talking about, I will be focusing on school and chatting normally in a different server. And as kids, and this isn't excusing their actions at all, but again, we have to consider they are not fully mentally or physically developed. Their prefrontal cortex is not there. And I know people joke about that and make a meme about that all the time, but that's just a fact of life. And the fact that they're having to worry about all of this drama with someone, an adult, who could have put a stop to all of this, that they probably look up to just to say, guys, I gotta take a step back. I'm gonna focus on school. That breaks my fucking heart. Literally, like, I am so angry, if you can't tell, and so upset about this. And he says, she used the excuse of wanting to focus on school and left the server, forgetting to provide evidence. At night, she rejoined the server and continued chatting as if nothing had happened. Another notable member of the staff is Junie, also known by other nicknames like Goonie and Admin Mooney. If the name includes Uni, it's him. Eclipse has repeatedly claimed that her friends didn't do anything wrong and are not pedophiles. Keep in mind, this is a child. Moving on. A&H says, I'm not talking about Eclipse, it's about what the other guys did. The other guys didn't do anything because they're not stupid. And then Admin Uni says, I didn't do anything, trust. Because Nora says, A&H sucks too, but don't deny your own part. So obviously there's some people that are claiming that other people had a part in this, which I don't know. I haven't been provided enough evidence on that front to say, something definitive one way or the other. But he goes on to say, since I'm no longer in the private group chat, I don't have evidence of Junie making sex jokes to V. However, unlucky for Junie, V isn't the only minor Junie has sexually approached. The names of the victims will not be disclosed publicly, but will be provided to the people involved like Junie if they need it. And Junie sends, a very, what I'm assuming is a sexual meme. I'm blind, I can't really see. I'm going to zoom in on this later. And they say, Aang, go to work, bruh. And then says, ? Why aren't you asleep? Junie texted a 14-year-old girl privately and sent this. And then there was another picture that says, got it, thanks for your input, bro. And then Peduni says, I feel like you need to turn around and let... Yeah, I'm not going to finish that either. Jesus Christ. Okay, to a 15-year-old minor. Then there was another picture of him saying something else. And then there was another group chat. And it says, a 14-year-old Vietnamese girl and voice chat with them. Junie sends the status as hot Vietnamese. Only Junie can use that emoji appeared in that status. So again, I'm not going to deny what I'm seeing here. Because what I'm seeing here is also fucked up. That's also not okay. But also, A&H, you say you're not shifting blame. However, you're kind of shifting blame and showing everything else that's fucked up just to try to get people off your back and be like, oh, but they did this stuff too. Again, bro, going back to the point that this was your server. Kick them out. Kick them out. I don't know how many times I have to say that. And there are more pictures about Junie joking on Eclipse. And then he says, thank you, Eclipse. Thanks for your help. I'll now, G-word, kids, so they will defend me no matter what. I'm going to eat you so hard. It's quite funny that they were the ones who screamed and accused me when V made the eat you joke to me and said it was and weird. Again, that was, you say you're not shifting blame again, but you're comparing your experience to theirs. What do you call that? And then there's another screenshot from Junie that says, so hot, your hand looks so hot, you could G-word me, a 13-year-old girl with those hands, to another 16-year-old minor. And I don't remember exactly how old Junie is. I don't remember if A&H disclosed. They might have. The ADHD is real. However, this whole, despite that, this whole thing is weird. Someone says, how old is this guy? Stop deleting messages, bud. Yeah, bro, stop deleting your messages. And then it just says, S-word, me first, bro. I'm a minor. This is not okay. So props to that minor for saying that. And for those who can't, because kids are not to blame when things like this happen. But I'm glad that at least at some point during this, something was said to someone. And I commend the victim of this for coming out and saying her truth, because it is so fucking hard to do that, especially with someone that's becoming so well known as A&H. And after this screenshot, he goes on to say, another minor was visibly upset when Junie made a sex joke. He then deleted the message and pretended to be stupid, but thanks to the snipe tool, we can see the deleted message. And then the literal admin Uni says they didn't beat his ass enough, if at all. And then he says, are you that desperate to make fun of my childhood? Seriously? You can say anything you want, but don't bring my childhood stuff in here. There is a whole bunch of stuff regarding A&H's past, and it says, in the past, I was very close to and trusted Junie. Similar to the case with V, because I valued and trusted them, I confided in them about my past of being abused by my father. I never expected Junie to make fun of it in front of others, even making the final joke slightly vulgar. Honestly, this is one of the things I'm most disappointed about with them. So I get that y'all had a personal friendship, but you're not disappointed more about the... Really? Anyway, moving on. He goes on to say, I also asked V if she found what Eclipse's team was doing to them unusual. V said it was just joking around and didn't care about their age or the people who were taking advantage of them. V also threatened to tell others about what happened between us because I targeted their good friends. But of course, I didn't beg or try to stop her. If they wanted to tell anyone, let them, because I know I'm not entirely in the right either. In this entire drama, except for V, everyone else is in the wrong, but not everyone has the courage to admit that it was wrong or warn V that it was wrong, because I knew very well that getting involved with someone younger isn't a good thing. I warned V and advised them to put aside any romantic feelings and focus on being normal friends as much as possible, saying, I think we should stop this kind of relationship, it's not really stable and healthy, and not right either. The entire thing just won't work, it still feels very weird, as it fucking should. As it should. We can be normal to each other like we did months ago. It made me feel more comfortable and don't have to think too much about it every night. Your mindset will also change a lot when you're grown up. You will see that I was always right about this. Again, setting the standard that like they are this person, you know, like I am your safe person. You know, like, I know best, I know better. Really, that's the whole vibe that this whole thing is giving. And it says, Eclipse's team has also made several false accusations against me. They claim that I fantasized about having with V. However, when I and other members pleaded and asked them for evidence, they avoided the topic entirely and didn't provide any proof. And you know, there's a bunch of screenshots of deleted messages, etc. And I don't even really feel like that we have to go through them at this point, because even though, you know, there were many other people in this server that did really bad things, I know this, and I am not dismissing what they have done, but also the majority of what A&H is calling out these people for, like I've said multiple times throughout this video, he could have stopped them. He could have put a stop to this whole thing from the very beginning. And to the victim or multiple victims that might be involved in this, I send my love, my prayers, my good vibes, whatever you feel, out to you. And I'm so sorry that this happened. If there are more updates on the situation, I will update you guys. And unfortunately, as much as I loved this game, I hate that it's tied to a creator now that has done things such as this. And I don't mean to laugh. It's just, I feel like this is happening more and more often as time goes on. And it is just so fucking upsetting. But if you guys want more content like this, where I am just talking about crazy things that are happening on the internet, whether or not they are game related, please let me know down in the comments below, and I will see y'all next time. Bye guys.